12 Things Poor People Do. There are a lot of misconceptions about poverty. We often think that poor people are lazy, or that they're just not trying hard enough. But the truth is, there are a lot of things poor people do that keep them in poverty. If you want to get out of poverty, you need to stop doing these things. 1. They don't plan for the future. We all know at least one person who lives strictly in the present moment. They don't think about the future or plan for it in any way. While this may seem like a carefree lifestyle, there are potential downside. Without any planning or forethought, these people may find themselves in difficult situations down the road. For example, they may not have enough money saved up for retirement, or they may not have health insurance. In times of crisis, they may also find themselves without any support or resources. While living in the present can be freeing, it's important to consider the future as well. Otherwise, you may find yourself unprepared for what lies ahead. 2. They don't invest in themselves. It's interesting to think about the people who don't invest in themselves. Why is that? Is it because they don't believe in themselves? Or is it because they don't think they're worth the investment? Or maybe they just don't know how to invest in themselves. Whatever the reason, it's a shame. Because when you don't invest in yourself, you are essentially saying that you don't believe in your own potential. You're saying that you're not worth the effort. And that's not true. We all have unlimited potential. We all have the ability to achieve great things. But we need to invest in ourselves if we want to reach our full potential. We need to believe in ourselves and put in the hard work. Only then can we achieve our dreams and make our mark on the world. 3. They stay in their comfort zone. People choose to stay in their comfort zone because it is familiar and safe. However, comfort zones can also be limiting, preventing people from reaching their full potential. Stepping outside of your comfort zone can be scary, but it can also lead to new opportunities and experiences. It is important to remember that everyone has a unique comfort zone, and what may seem like a small step for one person may be a huge leap for another. The key is to challenge yourself in a way that feels manageable and safe. For they don't take risks. When it comes to taking risks, it seems that humans are hardwired to play it safe. This is especially true when it comes to financial decisions. A study by Princeton University found that, when faced with a risky investment, people are more likely to choose the certain option, even if it means foregoing a higher potential return. The researchers suggest that this aversion to risk may be due to evolutionary pressures. In our ancestors' time, taking a risk could mean the difference between life and death. As a result, those who were more cautious were more likely to survive and pass on their genes. Today, we may not face the same life or death stakes, but the instinct to avoid risk is still strong. When making financial decisions, it's important to weigh the potential rewards against the risks. But even then, don't be surprised if your gut tells you to play it safe. 5. They don't network. When it comes to finding a job, networking is often key. Yet, many people don't take advantage of this important tool. Instead, they rely solely on the traditional job search methods of scouring online job boards and submitting resumes. While these methods can sometimes be effective, they often fall short. The reason is that most jobs are never advertised, they're filled through word of mouth or personal connections. This is where networking comes in. By building relationships with people in your field, you're much more likely to hear about openings before the general public does. In addition, you may even be able to land a job without ever having to submit a formal application. 6. They don't have mentors. It's not uncommon to hear people say that they don't have mentors. And it's understandable why someone would feel that way. After all, finding a mentor can seem like a daunting task. But the truth is, everyone has mentors whether they realize it or not. A mentor can be anyone who takes an interest in your development and offers guidance and support. It doesn't necessarily have to be someone who is older or more experienced than you. The most important thing is that they are someone you trust and respect. So if you're feeling lost or stuck, take a look around you. 7. They procrastinate. There are a number of theories about why people procrastinate. One popular theory is that procrastinators are actually afraid of success. They worry that if they start working towards their goals, they'll eventually have to face the possibility of failure. As a result, they prefer to put off taking any action, rather than risk failing. Another theory suggests that procrastinators are perfectionists who are afraid of making mistakes. They believe that if they start working on a task, they'll have to complete it perfectly or else it will be defective. This fear of imperfection can paralyze them, and so they instead choose to do nothing rather than take the chance of making a mistake. Whatever the reason for their behavior, procrastinators often find themselves struggling to meet deadlines and achieve their goals. If you're someone who tends to procrastinate, there are a few things you can do to try and overcome this behavior. First, try to break down big tasks into smaller, more manageable steps. This will make the task seem less daunting and more achievable. Second, set deadlines for yourself and stick to them. And finally, try to find someone who can hold you accountable for your actions. This could be a friend or family member who checks in with you regularly to see how you're progressing. 8. They don't save money. I have often wondered why people never seem to save money. Is it because they don't earn enough? Or because they have too many expenses? Or is it simply because they are not disciplined enough? I've come to the conclusion that it is probably a combination of all three factors. Regardless of the reason, the fact remains that many people never seem to have any money left over after they pay their bills. This can be a real problem when an emergency arises or when retirement looms on the horizon. Fortunately, there are ways to overcome this challenge. By setting aside a small amount of money each month, even those with modest incomes can gradually build up a nest egg. And by making a few simple changes to their spending habits, everyone can learn to live within their means and put some money away for a rainy day. 9. They live for today, not tomorrow. Who are they? They are the people who live for today and don't worry about tomorrow. They are the ones who seize the day and make the most of every moment. They are the life of the party and always up for a good time. They are carefree and spontaneous. They live in the moment and enjoy every minute. So what's their secret? It's simple: they don't take life too seriously. They don't sweat the small stuff and they never let anything get them down. They know that life is too short to waste time worrying about things that don't matter. So if you want to live like they do, just remember to relax and enjoy the ride. Life is too short to do anything else. 10. They have a negative mindset. Why is it that some people always see the glass as half empty, while others always seem to find the silver lining? Research suggests that it may have something to do with mindset. People with a negative mindset tend to focus on the negative aspects of any situation, while those with a positive mindset are more likely to see the positive side. This difference in perspective can have a significant impact on overall well-being. People with a positive mindset are more likely to be successful in their endeavors, and they also tend to be more resilient in the face of setbacks. In other words, they have what it takes to bounce back from difficult situations. So next time you find yourself dwelling on the negative, take a step back and try to see the situation from a different perspective. You may just find that things aren't as bad as they seem. 11. They make excuses. Why do people make excuses? Is it to avoid taking responsibility? To deflect blame? Or is it simply a way of rationalizing their own behavior? Excuses are often based on false or faulty logic, but they can be seductive nonetheless. We all want to believe that we are doing the best we can, and sometimes making an excuse is easier than admitting that we could have done better. Of course, there are also times when an excuse is simply a way of avoiding an unpleasant truth. Whatever the reason, excuses are a part of everyday life. And while they may not always be truthful, they often serve a purpose. 12. They blame others for their problems. Have you ever noticed that some people always seem to have someone to blame for their problems? They never take responsibility for their own actions and always point the finger at someone else. While it's easy to write these people off as lazy or simply excuses, it's important to try to understand why they behave this way. In some cases, it may be a defense mechanism, a way of protecting themselves from feeling like a failure. In others, it may be a way of deflecting responsibility from themselves onto someone else. Whatever the reason, it's important to remember that we all make mistakes and that we all have to live with the consequences of our choices. Blaming others may make us feel better in the short term, but in the long run, it won't change anything. Poor people do a lot of things that keep them in their position. They don't have the same opportunities as those who are born into privilege, and they often make decisions based on what is going to get them through today rather than thinking about the future. If you want to break out of the cycle of poverty, it's important to understand how poor people think and what traps they fall into. Once you know what these traps are, you can start making different decisions for yourself and work towards building a better life for yourself and your family. Subscribe to my channel to learn more about how to break the cycle of poverty and build a better life for yourself and your family.